Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey. Here's what's coming up on today's show. We'll break down the latest Mel Kiper mock draft, the possibility of signing recently cut nickelback safety hybrid Bobby McCain. We'll look at the idea of signing Conor McGovern. That's been floated out there. And Kirk Cousins maybe not getting extended this offseason. We'll break that down here. The goal is to set the like record of late for our Vikings channel. The record's 574. Let's get to 600. That's not that high of a goal to reach. You're going to have well over thousands of people watching this. So if you like what we do, if you want to help our bosses kind of stick it to them because they don't think we can do it, like today's video right now. Let's jump into the Mel Kiper mock draft. He had the Vikings selecting Maryland cornerback Deonte Banks in the first round. I'm intrigued by Banks. There's a very deep cornerback class overall, and a lot of these guys are bigger corners. I think will fit the Brian Flores style overall. Listed at 6'2". We'll see in the coming days just how big he actually checks in at from a size perspective, but graded out very well at PFF. Didn't allow that many catches. Was more of the, I believe the phrase that I've seen used with him was cover and clobber, so a physical press style corner. Pretty good at it. I think he'll test very well. I think that mid to late first round range is exactly where he should end up going. And here's what Mel Kiper had to say about potentially drafting Deonte Banks out of Maryland. Brian Flores wants to be aggressive, but he needs the cornerbacks to do that, even if free agent Patrick Peterson returns. The 6'2" Banks coming off a breakout season, which he locked down opposing wideouts, often in man-to-man coverage. And he had 8 pass breakups and a pick. His tape is impressive, and I've heard he's going to run the low 4.3 second range in the 40-yard dash at the combine. That is elite for his size. In the event Deonte Banks, and I'm not sure he's going to run the low 4.3s, but if he runs even 4.4s at 6'2", 200 pounds, that's going to put him in that. He might be the 4th cornerback taken in this year's draft. I think the bigger guys are Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon, Joey Porter Jr., probably not going to be there for Minnesota. But then I think Deonte Banks could be the leader of that next group, a very deep group of Cam Smith, Emmanuel Forbes, of multiple names in a very strong cornerback class. I think he has the size, the speed to play and fit very well in that Brian Flores defense. I'd be on board with this pick, even if it might not be the most household name of the group. Keely Ringo also in that conversation too, by the way. So should the Vikings take a cornerback in round 1? D for draft, P for pass. You can let me know in the comments. You're going to have the pinned comments of today's video. So if an ad break comes here on YouTube, go vote for me. D for draft, P for pass. Let's look at other defensive backs here. Bobby McCain. He played, by the way, under Brian Flores in Miami with the Dolphins. He was released by the Commanders on Monday, and this could bring kind of that nickel safety corner hybrid type of player. He's played some safety. He's played some nickel corner overall. This would be more of a depth signing with someone who is familiar with the scheme that I assume Brian Flores is going to want to implement. He's spent 2 years with the Commanders. He was a starter for that organization. 2 years, $11 million contract last year. Lasts a singular season. Gets moved on from the Commanders. Are going to save a little over $4 million, which I think is indicative of. They didn't save that much money versus what they were paying him. He just wasn't as good in Washington. Spent his first 5 years with the Dolphins. If you're looking for a veteran piece, especially if you lose a Patrick Peterson, if you move on from Chandon Sullivan in particular, this could be your replacement. Now, I think you would look for more of a 1-year deal for McCain, but he does offer that kind of safety, nickel flexibility that I know Brian Flores is going to want to have. I do think the Vikings can, and I'll say will, end up doing better, whether it's through the draft, whether it ends up being through the free agency process. I think there are better options than Bobby McCain. But look, he got cut. Everyone knows the ties to Flores. He's at least worth having a conversation about in the Vikings organization. So do you want to sign Bobby McCain? S for sign, P for pass. You can let me know in the comment section right now. One of the 2 Conor McGoverns in the NFL. He's played both guard and center, but this would be more of a center option here. For the New York Jets, Darren Wolfson says there's some mutual interest there between McGovern and the Vikings. I will make note, it's the Combine. There will be tampering this week between agents and teams and whatnot there. McGovern would be a Garrett Bradbury replacement. He's been a consistent starter, and he was getting almost $10 million a year in his deal with the Jets when they poached him away from the Denver Broncos. I would say he graded out similar-ish to Garrett Bradbury, and I think Bradbury is a better scheme fit for what the Vikings are going to continue to do, I should say, under Kevin O'Connell. We'll also mention the Spotrac projections at center, I think are a little bit wonky in terms of just what people are making. They got $12.5 million for Conor McGovern, who made $9 million on average on his last deal. This would make him one of the 5 highest paid centers in the NFL. What was was that $15 million, $14 million for Bradbury? 12.5, so similar numbers there. Again, you're making top 5, top 10 highest paid center money here. I don't think Conor McGovern is that. Now, the market only goes up, which is fair to make note of, but I think maybe more like $10 million could be the cost there. So I frankly don't have that much interest in making this type of commitment and offer and investment into the center position for McGovern. But would you do it? Why for yes and for no? Fun little graphic of just comparing the two. Now, we are going to use PFF pretty heavily because, well, they're the only ones that do public offensive line info. So, hey, we work with what we can here. But almost, I'd say across the board, Bradbury was better. Less sacks allowed. Now, sacks are often a quarterback stat, but when your center's allowing 5, that's bad. Bradbury had the best year of his career, which is a mostly low bar, but it's also a bar that he did clear. And the O-line really struggled without Garrett Bradbury. And it puts Minnesota in a tricky position to figure out how they want to address the center position. If you're not going to pay Bradbury, there's not that many great players options out there in free agency. What does intrigue me, could just take John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota, the local kid, plug him in. I don't know if he gets to you in round 2, but that'd be a pretty, I think, really good scheme fit for what he does and what he plays at. So that's another option there. But of these two, the free agent options, these are 2 of the better free agent centers after all. Pick one. 56 for Garrett Bradbury, his number, or Conor McGovern's number, 60. Pick one of those 2 in the comments section. Let's talk Kirk Cousins. Update, by the way. The report that has come out from Tom Pelissero, break it down to depth here, is that the 1-year Kirk Cousins extension is not likely to happen this year. That is a departure from previous years. Here's what Tom Pelissero recently reported. I would not anticipate that there's another 1-year extension here. Either the Vikings and Kirk Cousins do a long-term extension that locks him up as their franchise quarterback, or they keep the options open and let Kirk Cousins play out the existing deal. Well, that's interesting. I think this is also fair. The consistent 1-year deals, to an extent, are kind of a Band-Aid on the solution. Either go all in on Kirk Cousins or move on. At this point, we have enough information, even with the new offensive scheme, as to what Kirk Cousins is. And I want to make this, and I think every Vikings fan does, wants to make this defense better in 2023. You got to get your quarterback's cap hit down. So either just don't worry about that and rebuild on offense and find a new QB down the road, or go all in on Kirk. Give him a new 4-year deal and keep him at that 35, 36. Maybe it's upwards of 40 now with the salary cap rising. But you backload the deal like you've been doing, and you try to win in this 5-year, whatever it is, Kirk Cousins window. And then if it doesn't work, then you end up rebuilding. Now, there is another option. You could try, and I hate that you made this the title, Producer Patrick, because Patrick Mahomes comps are banned. But you could follow that approach of you have a good veteran quarterback, although I think Kirk has outplayed what Alex Smith was doing in Kansas City for the most part. You draft a quarterback in round 1, you give him a year, you move on. If you're doing that, you swing for the fences. You trade up for someone like a Anthony Richardson and give him a year to learn and develop, which that's risky, and it's also probably worth a more in-depth future video.